Welcome to the Cross Creek On Demand podcast, a podcast for you because God is for you. Before we begin, I have a question for you. Are you feeling overwhelmed? With all that's going on in the world and our lives, it's not surprising that many of us feel anxious, worn out, and overwhelmed. And if that's you, then our new series, Stop Trying So Hard, Finding Peace, Purpose, and Rest in Jesus, is for you. This episode is part 1, How to Find Peace and Purpose When You're Overwhelmed. We will learn how to embrace Jesus' invitation to rest and experience life the way it was meant to be. So, I was putting on this mic today, and I realized I hadn't put on a microphone since our Christmas service because my dad's taught for us, the last 4 weeks. So thanks, Dad, for doing that. I'm really excited to kind of be back doing this, and I was really excited to start writing the message. Like, I haven't really written something in a while, and I love writing. And then the moment I sit down to write, I immediately got distracted. I'm like, oh, there's this email I need to send. There's this email I need to answer. Then I went on our planning centers, how we plan our volunteers and stuff, and I realized we didn't have enough for today, so I had to go on there and start stressing about having enough volunteers. And then, as I'm starting to okay, I think I know where I'm going to go with this, these guys knocked on my door, and they had some leftover asphalt from some job they're doing down the road. These guys ever come to your door? And they're like, hey, we'll totally give you a discount on asphalt because your driveway looks like crap. And I'm like, I know it looks like crap because I've been trying to get some gravel, but that's not happening for a while. And so they're like, hey, yeah, we could totally give you a discounted price of 20 times more than I can afford. And so then I started stressing oh my gosh, I don't have enough money for the stuff I want, right? Like first world problem stuff. And then I finally started writing, but then the kids who are homeschooled and I work at home kept wanting me to show me crap. I love you kids, but how dare they interrupt me thinking I love them so much and stuff. It's really frustrating. But then by the time I started, I was already overwhelmed and man, am I even going to get anything written at all? And then as I'm writing, I keep hearing things in my head. It's not my wife whispering over my shoulder. This isn't good enough, right? What you just said, that doesn't make any sense. This isn't going to help anyone. You're only fooling yourself. Who do you think you are that you can teach like this, right? Have you ever had one of those days, or maybe weeks, or maybe lives, right? Where life just feels heavier, I think, than it should. Why is that? Why do we try so hard, yet still feel like we're falling short? We have so many responsibilities. We have so many pressures. We have so many worries. I think there's even, I haven't read the articles, but I've seen the headlines, and that's good enough, right? That middle-aged guys my age, and maybe older and younger, are having this crisis where they just feel everything is weighing on them. It all depends on them. There's this thing going on. I don't know. Like I said, I just read the headline. But I think it's true. All of us, whether a middle-aged guy or just a regular person, we're pulled in millions of directions every day. And we're trying to hold it all together and even wondering, am I doing this right? Whatever it is, am I parenting right? Am I doing this job right? Am I being a spouse right? Am I just living life right? Am I paying attention to the right things or not? I don't know. Am I all that? Am I informed enough? I don't know. And on top of all that regular stuff that we get every single day, then there's the God stuff, right? We need to make sure we're not sinning too much so we don't get in trouble. We need to make sure we're doing enough good to make sure God stays happy with us so we keep all that in balance. And it's no wonder we're anxious and frustrated and pent up and angry and just plain tired. See, I think life often feels like a marathon with no finish line. Life often feels like a marathon with no finish line. Now that I've bummed you all out, here's some good news. There are a lot of solutions out there for this. I don't know if you've seen it, but one of them is work harder. That always helps, right? Or buy more. That tends to work. Go on more trips, stay busy, distract yourself, numb the stress with some type of substance or whatever, right? That always works, doesn't it? And if none of those actually work, because I don't know what's wrong with you, but if those don't work for you, don't worry. You can always try religion. So now you can either work harder so you can earn some kind of more spiritual benefit, or you could just use religion to ignore your problems and work hard at not worrying and not caring about life. Now, as you might know, none of these actually seem to work in the long run. And some of them actually just make things worse. And so what do? Well, that didn't work, but what if I take a little piece of that, and a little piece of that, and a little piece of that? And we try to add, okay, well, maybe it's, more exercise, better eating, doing this extra trip, spending more vacation time the way I should. Like we try to add little pieces of each one of those, hoping someday we'll find the right combination, and then we won't be overwhelmed, we won't be stressed, we won't be worn out, we won't be tired. And we just keep slugging through day after day after day, wishing for something better. But there actually is something better. There actually is another way. And since you're sitting here, I think you've guessed it, it's the Jesus way. See, Jesus' answer was completely different than everything else we've tried. It's completely unique to anything else we've tried. It's the only solution that lasts. And you know what it is? Stop. Stop trying so hard. And that's what we're going to be talking about for a few weeks. Stop trying so hard. See, Jesus said if we want to enjoy life and find real rest, we have to stop trying so hard. And so what am I talking about? Like give up? Stick our heads in the sand? Pretend to be all happy and put on the smile at church so we think we earned our church points or whatever? No, it's so much better than that. It's the life Jesus invites everyone to discover, enjoy, and share together. And maybe you're sitting here, or maybe you're listening online because somebody sent it to you or whatever, and you're not even sure right now if you buy into all the Jesus stuff. I would say that's okay. See, that's okay. I'm guessing you still feel the weight of life on you, right? So what if, just for a few minutes, what if you gave yourself permission to consider the possibility that Jesus has something different, something better for you? So I'm guessing, turn off the podcast just yet. And so today, this is part 1 of the series called Stop Trying So Hard. And this is kind of like, you ever watch a show and you kind of binge it, but the first few episodes, you're kind of like, I don't know if I can get into this show, right? But it's building characters, and it's kind of setting this plot line, right? That's what today is, except you will get into it, don't worry. I'm not saying that. But this message, I think, kind of builds on what's going to come. So we're kind of setting things up, and it'll make more sense as we add it to the rest of the series, which I'm kind of saying is show up for the next few weeks. Not next week, but the next few weeks. Or keep listening online. If you missed, listen online. This isn't a guilt trip. I'm just saying all this will make more sense if you put it all together. So, with all of that, Jesus tells us how to stop trying so hard. He kind of gives us our first steps as he's mentally, emotionally coming down from an angry kind of prophecy he has, this rant he has against certain towns that refused to believe in him. And they refused to believe in him even though he had preached to them, he had healed them, he had done miracles in front of their eyes, and he's just like so frustrated. He's like calling doing this prophecy against them. And as he's coming down from that, he actually gives us, I think, a clue in how to find his way of life. So at that time, Jesus prayed this prayer. O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, thank you for hiding these things from those who think themselves wise and clever. And these things is what I was talking about, his teachings about God's love and about who he is and why he's here and the life he can offer. So thank you for hiding these things from those who think themselves wise and clever and for revealing them to the childlike. Yes, Father, it pleased you to do it this way. So he says what he is offering is hidden from those who think they know everything, right? They think they've got it all together. But it's revealed, it's hidden to them, but it's revealed to the childlike. So if you kind of resonated with what we were talking about at the beginning here, if you ever feel overwhelmed by all you have to do, overwhelmed by the responsibilities you have, by the people who rely on you, if you feel like you don't know what you're doing, or if you, for me, I always feel this way, feel like a kid just trying to look normal in grown-ups' clothes, no? If you feel that way, well then Jesus is saying, you're halfway there already. See, to discover the life Jesus offers, we first have to acknowledge we don't know what we're doing. We have to acknowledge, hey, we're all in the same boat. We don't actually know what we're doing. Because if there's something you discover as you become an adult, I think, no one knows what they're doing, right? Watch the news, especially politicians. Nobody knows what they're doing. Just kidding. No, I'm not. And I think most of us are trying to do our best and just hoping that things work out and hoping that no one finds out that we're kind of just faking it till we make it, right? See, if we pretend to have it all together and keep trying to keep everything going because we have to prove for some reason that we've got this, then what Jesus is saying, we will miss out on the life he is offering. But what is this life he's offering? Why do we even want it? What is it? He goes on. My Father has entrusted everything to me. No one truly knows the Son except the Father, and no one truly knows the Father except the Son, and those to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. So Jesus says the Father's entrusted everything to him, all knowledge of the universe and cosmos, all authority. See, as part of Trinity God, Jesus has always had and always will have an all-encompassing, loving relationship with God the Father and God the Holy Spirit, where all three of them are kind of like the best way theologians have described it for me is like this cosmic, unending, eternal dance together of being perfectly and fully known and fully loved and fully enjoyed. And it's that relationship, that eternal cosmic, is that the right word? We're going to say it is. The eternal cosmic relationship that Jesus says he will reveal to those he chooses to reveal it to. See, the life Jesus offers comes from knowing and being personally known by God. Personally known, personally loved, personally enjoyed, accepted, adored. But it's available to those who Jesus chooses to reveal it to. So who does Jesus choose to reveal this relationship to? Like, how do we get it? How do we get that life that he's offering? What do we have to do? What do we have to know? Like, what are the right things to believe in order to actually experience this life? Those are great questions, guys. I'm so glad you asked. You're so smart. Next verse. Then Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest." So who does Jesus choose to give this life to? All who are weary and carry heavy burdens. He's talking about you. He's saying, come to me, Carl, who are weary and carrying heavy burdens. All who are weary. Like, he's talking about you. Like, are you tired? Do you have worries you can't do anything about? Those 3 a.m. wake-ups where you're like, oh my gosh, I got to take care of this, got to take care of that, but I can't do anything about it. And what if this happens? What if that happens? Do you ever have that? You ever feel like what you have to do requires more than who you are? Feel like you can't live up to the expectations, whether it's your own or someone else's expectations? Do you feel powerless to do anything about the state of the world or your future or your situation? Do you feel like maybe you're just on like that hamster wheel of life? Then Jesus said, you are invited to experience something better. You are invited to experience the true life Jesus offers. And the only thing we have to do is come to Jesus, and he will give you rest. And he didn't say, come to my teachings. Make sure you have it all laid out just the right way and you believe just the right way, and then I will give you rest. He didn't say, come to my miracles and be wowed by all the cool things I can do. He didn't say, come to my systematic theology and make sure that you're teaching everybody all the right things, and like you're mad at all the right things and supporting all the right things and all that. He didn't say, come to my list of do's and don'ts. He didn't say, come to my political leanings. He simply said, come to me. See, rest isn't about what you do. It's about who you trust. Rest isn't about what we do. It's about who we trust. See, we don't find this life, we don't find this rest by working really hard to afford things to distract us, or even working really hard to be holy to impress God enough. And it's not some secret knowledge that we have to work toward only to discover it once we kind of reach this certain level of knowledge and belief or whatever. It's a gift that Jesus gives to anyone who will come to him. And it's not a maybe, it's not a hopefully you'll find rest by coming to me. He says, I will give you rest. It's a promise. He will give us rest. He will give us peace. How will he do that? Another great question. Let's go on. He says, take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light. So how do we experience the life Jesus offers? We let him train us. We let him change our hearts as we learn to become more and more like him. But this training, this teaching of Jesus's isn't what we've always been told it is. It isn't this rigid life of following a holy rule book. It isn't making sure our good outweighs our bad. It isn't a harsh life of depriving ourselves in order to impress God. It's learning to accept how loved we are. It's learning to accept just how loved we actually are. Learning to see and enjoy and accept ourselves and others the way our Heavenly Father sees and enjoys and accepts us. Learning who Jesus really is, the trustworthy, all-loving King of the entire cosmos. It's letting go of the fear of being smited and the fear of losing God's love. He says he is humble and gentle at heart. I don't know if you know this, but this is the only place where Jesus actually describes his heart. So if Jesus was at a job interview, and they said, Jesus, maybe you're interviewing for a carpenter job, because that's what we used to do. Please describe yourself in 5 words or less. He would say, humble and gentle at heart. That is how Jesus, God himself, described himself. Humble and gentle at heart. And it's almost weird that he says humble, because he just said that God the Father entrusted everything to him, meaning, hey, I'm God. He just called himself King of the universe. But what does it mean that he's humble? It means he doesn't force his way. It means he doesn't bully people into doing what he wants them to do. It means he doesn't use his authority to oppress and coerce people to get them to see things his way. He's humble and he's gentle at heart. He's compassionate. He's understanding. He's patient. He's encouraging. See, when we learn from this type of Jesus, the real Jesus, the humble and gentle at heart Jesus, we find rest for our souls. I think that's a pretty awesome way of saying we learn to enjoy God and the fact that he's enjoying us. And so often when we think about following Jesus, maybe this is how you grew up, I don't know, but it seems anything but easy and light, right? If you went out on the street corner right now and said, hey, you need to follow Jesus, 9 out of 10 people would think you're crazy, but also 9 out of 10 people would probably picture like some rigid religious system that you need to follow, right? It's not restful because there's so much we have to do, so much we think we have to know and memorize and remember, and so much we have to believe the right way. But that's not the Jesus way. See, if following Jesus doesn't give you rest for your soul, something is off. If the idea of following Jesus doesn't give you this idea of rest for your soul, then maybe what you've been sold is a religious farce with some Jesus-y words in it to disguise it for what it really is. See, when we are living the relationship Jesus offers, we aren't motivated by fear or guilt or even by duty. We're motivated by love. Love for him. Love for others. And that love, when we ask what does love look like in this situation, it requires all of us. It requires a lot, but it's not overwhelming because it's restful. And when we miss the mark of who we know we can be through him, he doesn't condemn us. He doesn't belittle us. He doesn't judge us. He forgives. He redirects. He encourages. He reassures. And he guides us in the right way. So when we hear a voice saying we aren't good enough, Or, how could you screw up so bad? How could you mess up so often? You don't have what it takes. We know that is not the humble and gentle at heart voice of Jesus. We know it's someone else's voice, and we can ignore it because it's not our teacher. It's not our king. See, with Jesus, we discover the peace of knowing that no matter what, we are humbly and gently loved. Jesus is the inviter, the source, and the sustainer of the life we are all looking for. Now, I'm not going to lie to you much. Just kidding. But coming to Jesus, it doesn't take the pain out of life. It doesn't. It doesn't mean we won't have to actually work and do things we don't want to do. But in any of that pain, in any of that things we have to do that we don't want to do life, it will give us a peace in it. It will give us a purpose for it and through it. And it will give us a rest within it. So imagine hiking up a mountain. And each of your stresses, think of things that stress you out. Each of your stresses, each of your worries, each of your anxieties, each of your responsibilities is a brick in the backpack that you're wearing as you're hiking up this mountain. Jesus doesn't offer to take some bricks out of your backpack. That's not what this is about. He offers to take the backpack and walk next to you. The bricks are still there. They're still your bricks. But he is taking the load. So think about what is weighing you down right now. Let's raise our hands and share our worries. And I'm just kidding. But think about it in your head. What is weighing you down right now? What would it feel like to hand over your weight to someone stronger? To someone who you know can handle it? Imagine being able to hand those worries, hand those fears, hand those stresses to Jesus. They don't just disappear, but we can say, here, these are yours now. I'm going to trust you to take care of them. And he'll take care of them. Now, there's one other thing we need to see in this passage. When he said, I will give you rest for your soul. Come to me, you who are weary. The yous here, they're plural. As in most of the yous in the New Testament. They're plural. It's like y'all will find rest. Meaning this happens in a community. Because we also carry each other's burdens. We carry each other's bricks. As the African theologian John Mbiti said, rest in Christ is not the absence of labor, but the restoration of the soul within a community of care. It is the kind of rest that comes from knowing one's identity is secure in God and supported by others. See, Jesus' promise of rest isn't just an individual thing. It's a promise of a rest for a community. It's about creating a community where we can experience peace with others, no matter how different they might be from us, no matter how differently they might vote from us. It's a community based on, created by, and sustained by our humble and gentle at heart King. See, the life Jesus offers is experienced in a community resting in Jesus. We can't find it alone. It's always been about together. See, this life isn't something we experience alone. It's something we discover, enjoy, and share together. When we gather and we support and we pray for each other, we create a space where God's peace is actually tangible. We can actually experience it. And I believe that's what we are creating here at Cross Creek. Being here together every week, meeting in small groups, even some are meeting in one-on-one alliances together. A community where we invite our neighbors to discover, enjoy, and share the life Jesus offers together. So, as we start this journey of a few weeks of giving up trying so hard, and I know stop trying so hard is going to be easy for some and really hard for you overachievers. I get it. that just doesn't click for you. So as we start, first things first. The first step, as Jesus said, is to come to him. Come to Jesus. Maybe for the first time, maybe again. Tell him, I want you to teach me. I don't want the news to teach me. I don't want the podcast to teach me. I don't want the books to teach me. Nothing that's wrong with any of those. But our main teacher, if we really want to experience this life, has to be Jesus. Come to Jesus. I say, I want you to teach me. I want to commit to you and your way. And then allow him to teach you. Allow him to teach you. One of the best ways, and what I'm going to invite you to do this week, actually, 2 weeks, because, I won't check your homework for 2 weeks, is read Matthew 5-7 this week. It's the Sermon on the Mount, right? It's Jesus' main teachings, like a summary of Jesus' main teachings. And as you read that, write down anything you learn about Jesus. What does this show you about Jesus? Not what does this show you about what you should do right now, and what rules you should follow, and what lists you should make about what makes somebody holy and not holy. What does this tell you? What does this show you? What does this reveal about Jesus? So you can learn to recognize his heart and his voice, and to start to tune your heart and your mind to his. And if you want extra credit for that, we actually did a series a while ago called A Life That Actually Works that went through the Sermon on the Mount. So if you like hearing my voice a lot, you can listen to that too. And then practice resting and trusting. We have to practice it. We have to practice resting. We have to practice trusting. And every time you feel that weight, every time you feel another brick pulling on your backpack, when you feel that stress and that worry, stop and say, Jesus, I trust you with this. Like we have to physically, purposely practice saying that. Jesus, I trust you with this. And then see if he doesn't give you the rest he promised. The more you practice, the more rest you will experience. Like if you're worried about the state of the world right now, remind yourself who is in control. Jesus, I trust you with this. If you're worried about your future, practice trusting the God who is outside of time and is already in that future with you and knows what will happen after that. If you're stressed out about your kids or your parents, remember who loves them more than you do and proved it by dying for them. If you really want extra credit, explore being in a Jesus community. Like maybe come here regularly. Check out a Connect group. I know we are very tight on space right now in their Connect groups, but at least get yourself on the waiting list of a Connect group. Start an alliance with someone. These are not official things we have. It's just you find someone and you're like, hey, I'd like to meet once a month or once a week or every other week. And we have resources that you can use to talk with each other about. But the main idea is being together. And we're not doing these things. We're not showing up to church. We're not going to a Bible study. We're not doing what is that called? What's the churchy word for one-on-one stuff? Accountability partner. Oh, yeah. I hate that. We're not doing those things so we can be a good Christian or like win some type of points. No, we're doing it because you want to support others and you want to be supported as we all learn from Jesus together. So think about it. We'll let the band come up and get all ready and stuff, but think about it. What if this week you stopped carrying the weight of having to hold it all together? What if you were able to let that go? See, no matter how heavy life feels, Jesus is inviting you to rest. He's not asking for more effort. He's not asking for perfection. He's asking for your trust. He says, come to me and I will give you rest. So take him at his word. He wasn't lying. He wasn't trying to trick anybody. Take him at his word. Trust him with your worries. Trust him with your burdens. Trust him with your life. Let him replace your work with peace. Let him replace your anxiety with purpose and your exhaustion with rest. And together as a community, we can live out this rest-filled life and show the world the freedom that that comes from actually knowing Jesus. Think about it. The King of the universe is humble and gentle at heart, and he invites you to experience rest for your soul. You don't have to keep working. You are loved, you are known, and you are invited to live a life of peace and purpose and rest with him. See, we can stop trying so hard when we start trusting Jesus. And stop trying so hard when we start trusting Jesus.